Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and that little groove exercise was based on a very simple pattern, which is this, which all of you have played at one point or another. And what I did is I took that groove and moved it around, syncopated it, added some ghost notes, played a lot of different variations on that theme. So today we're going to talk about how I work on these things, and we'll use some exercises from my book, which I know many of you have. And we'll go through these exercises and kind of build a house on a basic concept, which is that little beat I just played for you. So the first way we're going to approach this is just play it as a simple rock beat. We'll put the metronome on 110, and I'll show you how that sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, nothing to it. So what I like to do is I want to be able to change up my hi-hat. That's the first step to this. So keeping that consistent kick snare groove, I want to be able to do anything on my hi-hat that my mind tells me or someone asks me to do. So the first exercise might be a different kind of hi-hat technique, which in this case would be a shaft tip technique like this. Now we've all seen that. All right, but in this case, we're going to do just eighth notes with it, play the same groove, and use that hi-hat technique. 1, 2, 3. So it's a lot different already. Just doing that emphasis on each beat instead of the eighth note, which is this, changes the way that groove feels. It opens it up a bit. So if you go to my book and turn to page 13, and I'll put this on the screen here, you'll see a whole bunch of different right hand cymbal hi-hat rhythms. Now this goes on for many pages. All right, but this is the first page. So already I've played number 3 for you and number 4 for you. All right, because we did the eighth notes, and then we did the eighth notes with the accent. Let's look at another one. Let's look at number 6. 1, 2, 3. We'll do another one. Let's look at number 12. And for the accent, we'll open the hi-hat there. 1, 2, 3. And so on and so forth. So you can go through all these exercises, as many as you can. It's going to take a while, but once you do that, you'll have a lot of freedom. You can play any groove with your kick and snare, and then your hi-hat can be free to do all kinds of things. Now, I also like to do grooves that I call layered grooves. So in that case, what'll happen is you'll come over from the hi-hat to the snare like this. So that's just simple 16th notes, but I'm using surface substitution, try saying that really fast, to get that effect. And that can result in some really cool grooves. If we do it with kind of a 16th note triplet mixed in there, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. right, so we're getting pretty complex there, but again, a really good variation to do to add to your arsenal here. So let's talk about ghosting now with the snare drum. We haven't really talked about that yet, but a lot of these grooves can be made a lot more funky and more involved, and they feel better if you ghost. So a simple variation on that might be just to start out by doing this. So what I'm doing is I'm just playing 16th notes, but I'm ghosting that left hand. And by ghosting, I mean you're just barely playing the note, very, very quietly, about 1 to 2 inches off that head. So you can also do it in between strokes. So in other words, if I go to my shaft tip thing, I can add some ghost notes there. So really quickly, what I want to show you is I'll play the groove straight, vanilla, without any ghosting, and then I'll add the ghosting. So I'll play, 4 bars of each. 2, 3. So, it adds some spices to the recipe. It makes it more interesting and funkier. So the ghosting is something you definitely want to add to all these kinds of patterns. Another way you can ghost is in 16th note triplets. So a 16th note triplet at this tempo sounds like this. And if I play that on the hi-hat and the snare, it sounds like this. And then if we take that double left hi-hat and put it on the snare drum, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. And you see there I'm using my fingers to get that double. That. All right. So finally, we can start intermingling the hands like this kind of thing. If you're aware of David Garibaldi's playing with Tower of Power, he did lots of that kind of stuff. All right, lots of ghosting. It's almost kind of a paradiddle sticking. So let's see what that sounds like. 2, 3. All right, so a little more complicated there, but layering. You're layering the surfaces, the hi-hat and the snare drum. So once again, just changing surfaces sometimes can be really interesting. Now you can also do a lot of this with the bell of the cymbal. I'll show you what that sounds like. 2, 3. So again, using that basic rhythm and starting to get more and more syncopated. Now, speaking of that, if we want to get more syncopated, you could do some different variations. So let's take a simple variation where we play 2 notes on the first beat instead of 1 with the bass drum. That sounds like this. 2, 3. And I'm also syncopating that second bass drum beat. So instead of this, I'm doing. So there we're getting into some much more funky kind of drumming where you're going on the E's and the U's instead of just straight eighth notes. I'll put something on the screen here so you can see it's pretty complex, but it might sound something like this. 1, 2, 3. So I hope this helps orchestrate or helps you orchestrate some of these grooves, gives you some ideas for building on these things. And I'm just going to play a little faster, and we'll call it a day. 1, 2, 3.